This is the Roller Coaster Podcast, and I'm your host, Lucy Q. Life is a wild ride. It has twists and turns. It's scary, exciting, and downright fun. So throw your head back, arms in the air, and come along with me for the ride.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride.
How's your relationship with money? If you flinched at that question, then you're going to want to tune in and turn up the volume. Joining me today is Morgana Rae, the 20-time international #1 best-selling author and mentor and coach, and regarded as the world's #1 authority on relationships with money. Morgana, here we are. It's all about the money.
Yes. Well, it's about the money, and it's about what money represents, because honestly, money was just invented by human beings. So in a way, it's not real. It's sort of like we all collectively agreed to pretend that like one purse is worth $50 and another purse is worth $5,000. It's the stuff that money represents, the stuff like love and worth and safety, our very right to exist, that makes money such a juicy, difficult topic for human beings, because it's honestly the #1 excuse that we give for anything we can't have, do, or be. So yeah, when I talk about money, I'm talking about life and how money shows up.
Yeah, and I think especially now where I think money is just being, it's nothing more than a series of ones and zeros on a mysterious spreadsheet. I think they just print it whenever they need more. I think we're at that point where they just make more. It's
and
not
now
earned.
With crypto, they don't even bother to print it.
No, it's not real. But it is a topic that people don't talk about.
It's like, it's imaginary and it's also real. Like, it has a very real impact on every area of your life, and your relationship with it is as real as with any human being in your life, and including your relationship with yourself. So yeah, we can go, oh, money isn't real. Great. And you need it to live, which can create a really horrible relationship, because now, you know, what if you don't like money and you don't like what it does in the world and you wish it didn't exist, but you had to have a relationship with it? So like, Lucy, if I were to say to you, I hate you, I wish you didn't exist, but I have to have a relationship with you, how would you feel?
I would not be feeling very good about myself.
Yeah. Would you want to stay around?
No.
And if you felt that way about somebody, let's say your best friend Sally, or your used to be best friend Sally, and now you hate her guts, but for some reason you need her in your life, or you think you do, you would just naturally start pushing her away, pushing her out to the edge. And that's just what we do. And what's interesting, and I'm really not going in a linear direction, so rein me in at any time, but this isn't just true for people who are struggling to have enough money. This dynamic shows up in people with vast wealth. I've coached clients who are on public assistance, and I've coached clients with hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars. And money shows up as a pain point for everybody in some way or another.
So let's go back a bit. Did you always have this really comfortable relationship with money, or did you start off with some of the struggles just like the rest of us?
Oh my God. No, I did not start out with any kind of good relationship with money at all. And I never intended to be a coach on the topic of money. It was just the thing that I was getting stuck at, where I've been coaching 27 years now. I started in 94. And from the beginning, I started with the entertainment industry. And from the very beginning, I was getting clients getting these overnight results within weeks of winning awards, winning movies, winning TV series, and actors, writers, directors, producers. And the thing that I got stuck at was getting paid. Like I could get crazy, wonderful testimonials. I was really good at marketing language, and people were lining up to work with me. And one by one, I magically repelled them from giving me money. It's weird to look back at, but it was like I had superhuman powers to repel money because I had so many unconscious reservations about it that because it's unconscious, I had no idea. So I would be getting more coaching certifications, taking more classes on selling and blah, blah, blah. And it was not hiring coaches, flying out of town for like more seminars, and it was not translating into income for me. At the worst point, I was living in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities in the world, making $100 a month, which is insane because my clients were winning awards and TV series and loved me. And it was completely me. And I got to such a dark, disappointed place where I had just taken this class on overcoming sales objections, and 7 people in a row, I used my overcoming sales objection superpowers, and they said yes, and none of them showed up and none of them paid me. And I just I lost it. I lost hope. And as my husband would say, it's like the wheels came off the wagon, and I drew closed the blackout shades in my little tiny apartment bedroom crypt and got on my bed, and I just started wailing because I felt so hurt and frightened and enraged and despairing because I was doing everybody was telling me to do, and I was doing it really well. And I'm a good student, Ivy League, honors roll, just tell me what to do and I do it. And none of it works. And I'm speaking to anybody out there who you've done everything you're supposed to do, and not just money, but love or fame or career or whatever, health. It's that horrible feeling of you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing it for years, and you can't figure out why you aren't getting the results you're supposed to be getting that you've been promised, and it doesn't make sense. And what I've come to the conclusion, doing this for 27 years with thousands of clients, is when you're doing everything right and you aren't getting the results that you so desperately want and deserve, you are protecting yourself from what you want. And you're not insane. And you're not a failure. In fact, you're very, very successful at protecting yourself from a real danger that you are not conscious of. You are not stupid or dumb or crazy to protect yourself from money or love, or maybe even health. There are things that happened in your life where something became dangerous and you just filed it away. And so for me, my breakthrough, and it happened so fast. Like I saw the results within hours. But I was in this like really, really dark place. And I had this thought in the back of my head that maybe money needed to be my next area of spiritual growth. It doesn't have to be for you. I'm from LA, and like spiritual growth is in the water. It's so comfortable. So if money is spiritual, okay, then maybe I can dabble with it. And the other part was I got curious about what was inside of me that was pushing money away, that couldn't be with money. And the next day I had a session with my coach, like, here I'm making $100 a month. I can't afford the rent, but I still, damn it, I'm gonna have a coach. And I had a great coach, and I was doing everything he told me to do month after month after month, and we couldn't figure out why none of it was working. And then after I had like this, in 12-step programs, they would call it hitting
rock bottom, moment of crisis.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the next day, my coach, in some far out inspired moment, asked me, if your money were a person, who would your money be? And I was in such a dark place that I saw my money in that moment. And he, at that moment, was this big, scary, dirty, violent, terrifying biker dude, bald with sideburns, white beater shirt, tattoos. And there's nothing wrong with that type of guy, but this guy was bad, and I could feel it with every cell of my being. And it was like I could imagine myself at a live event, keeping my eye on him at every moment to create maximum distance. And that was my big light bulb moment, that that's what was going on 24/7. Below the surface of my awareness and my unconsciousness, I was keeping distance from money. And I knew if that guy was my money, there was nothing that could be done. I would never accept it in my life if it was that guy. I couldn't change the guy. It was what it was. And we can go into like childhood events and blah, 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 and world events and analyze it, but that's not what matters. It's that feeling of, oh my God, this guy is scary and horrible, and I have to protect myself from him. And that's the place you need to get. So when I walk you through the process, it's like first you uncover like the wounds, the life experiences that make the world unsafe for you. Anything that has to do with feeling unlovable, ashamed, unworthy, unsafe, especially if it doesn't look like it has anything to do with money. So like if you have an eating disorder, or you had an accident, or abuse in your life, or betrayal in your life, you want to go for that, because your relationship with money is really a metaphor for your relationship with life. The good news is doing this process yields ridiculously dramatic financial results, because money is an area of life that needs safety and needs transformation so that you can have it in your life. So back to the horrible, scary biker dude. I knew I couldn't have money in my life if that was the guy. So I had to get rid of the guy. That's step number 3. Step 1 is uncover the root cause. Step 2 is personify everything that is horrible in existence as a monster outside of yourself, who also is not your parents, even if your parents were monstrous. Because in step 3, you need to get rid of it. By the way, I recommend as like violently and permanently as you can possibly imagine. It's like that, you know, Durga warrior goddess energy, really, really thorough. Step 4. Oh yeah, okay. So when the biker was completely gone, I had a new problem, which was I live in Los Angeles, and I have just gotten rid of my only relationship with money. And that's not going to last me very long.
It's not going to work either. No.
No, and I didn't want the monster to come back. So it was like, okay, I need to fill this empty space that I'm feeling really, really fast. So then the question was, well, who could I have in my life who I would want so much that I'd be willing to have this person in my life, even if it's money? Speaking especially to the ladies, but not just the ladies, the guys too. If you have been in a really bad relationship, you are not in a hurry to jump into another one. So this next relationship had to be so wonderful and so safe and so desirable that I'd be willing to have it, even if it represented money, and not because it did. And so, you know, thanks to my overactive imagination, the replacement popped up instantly in my mind's eye as this tall, dark, handsome, romantic young man, you know, with slick back hair and a tuxedo and carrying a bouquet of red flowers. And the kicker is he was in love with me. Like I could feel it, you know, just whoa. And it's weird. Like it's really, really weird to feel like money loved me in this just unrequited, sweet, loving, generous way and wanted to be with me. That's step number 4 is you meet your money honey. I used to say like 10, 15 years ago, I would say stuff like create your money honey, but I really wanted to feel like this person is an autonomous being that just has always been there waiting for you. So I like to say, so you meet your money honey. And the number one rule of money honey, like, you know, the first rule of Fight Club.
I was just going to say the first rule of Fight Club.
Exactly. The first rule of money honey is your money honey loves you as you are and chooses you over everybody else in the world. If that isn't there, that's not your money honey. Go back and see if there's any money monster left.
So before we go on, if I could just ask, going back to your money monster, when you first asked that question, what does that person look like? I have no idea. Is that
good question?
Is that a bad thing? Because
Not
when you're asking it, I'm like, well, I don't know what dude looks like.
Excellent question. And I know I've been talking a mile a minute because we've got like 20 seconds and I'm trying to fit in like decades into 20 minutes, I think is what you said. So I'm totally talking too fast and I apologize. Great question. So here's the thing. The biggest part of the process is step number one, which is just building case after case after case of why life sucks, especially for you, anyone who's ever rejected you, anything that has ever made you feel unsafe, unlovable, or unworthy. Anything out in the world, like, oh my God, you know, my thing about animals, you know, bring that in. Any climate change, well, you know, that's related to economics, but anything that feels personal or you're personally passionate about, and you're like an attorney building a case for why life sucks. And for all of my law of attraction friends out there, I know this is different than how you've been trained. And law of attraction people love me because of the second half, and it's going to work. But it's like you can't put on a Band-Aid over a seething wound or the poison will turn inward. So what we want to do is we want to suck it out by bringing it all out into the light. It's sort of like a slingshot where the farther you go in the wrong direction, the more tension and energy you create to propel you where you want to go and beyond and stay there. So we're like lighting up all your neurology. It's to create neuroplasticity in your brain to lay down a totally new pattern that sticks. So when you ask if you don't see it, you haven't gone deep enough yet in the process. We're just kind of skimming through the cliff notes. And a lot of us do not get our information visually. The problem with visualization, like I got the visualization by accident, because that's not usually how I receive things or how I perceive things. I'm like super duper clairaudient and clairsentient. And the clairvoyant is, yeah, sometimes it shows up. So what I would encourage you to do is once you get that emotional mass of ick, the bigger the better. Then you might go, okay, so if this were a person, how big is this person? Does this person feel hot or cold? What does this person smell like? I'll give you hints. The person is really big and smells really bad. Hot or cold is up to you. And then you can go like, what is this person's hair color? How is this person dressed? What do this person's teeth look like? You know, hands, and you just get glimpses enough. What your monster looks like doesn't matter as much as what your monster feels like. So maybe you'll never see the face. That's okay. Same with the money honey. I've had money honeys where it was like, dang, that is, you know, Clive Owen, crystal clear. And then I've had years of money honeys who didn't have a clear face, but I could feel him wrapping his arms around me and I could smell him. And so
it's more about the feeling that you had with money before and the vision of, you can have a vision of feeling, but what you want to feel with money in the future.
Close. Very, very, very close.
Almost there.
Yay, you. So it's an unconscious feeling about life that is useful to associate with money. But the less the monster feels like it has to do with money and the less the honey feels like it has to do with money, the better it works. It's totally counterintuitive. I only learned this from coaching thousands of clients. And full disclosure, back in March of 2003, when I went through this process accidentally, spontaneously myself, and then I was getting all these clients, like within 24 hours, 4 people had hired me at double what I'd ever charged before. And they just kept coming and coming and coming. And I was not selling money relationship at all. I wasn't doing anything differently, except I stopped pushing money away. But so I had all these clients who had money issues. So I was like, great, let's try it on them. And it worked like a lead balloon in the beginning. And I had to dig deeper and reverse engineer what was missing, what actually makes this work. So like what I'm sharing with you today is based on doing this thousands of times, where now my clients are making millions of dollars when I do it. In the beginning, when I started getting good at it, they were making hundreds, and then they were making thousands, then they were making tens of thousands, then they were making hundreds of thousands. I mean, all those numbers still show up, but now my results just get bigger and bigger and bigger because I know it better and better and better. So I'm just not expecting anybody listening to this interview to master it in 20 minutes. And I promise to direct you to resources to dive in deeper at your leisure. And at the same time, I am trying to cram in everything in the time that we have that I think can be useful, because I really, really, really like it when people have breakthroughs just from listening to an interview, because that happens too. So great question. I ease into it with both the monster and the honey, with usually starting with what does this person feel like? What does this person smell like? What is, you know, just the other, what does this person sound like? What does this person say to you, before we like put your money honey under the like harsh lights of visualization and you have to see it right in that moment. Some people see it instantly. It's not necessary. So when you say what money felt like, I would say actually it's what life felt like, but we call it money. And then the money honey is actually what love feels like. And we call it money because money is an area of life that, at least in my case, needed my love and healing. It was the area of my life that at that moment most needed my love and healing. So this beautiful guy shows up, doesn't feel anything like money. He felt like a beautiful, handsome, romantic guy. And I chose to call him money because I knew that was an area of life that needed my love to heal, to move forward, to do help the people I wanted to help. So I met my money honey. And now we're going to move to step 5, because I want to get us to all 6 steps.
Okay.
So once he's there and he feels really, really real, or she, pick the gender of your choice. It was clear to me that he loved me and I had been pushing him away. And it was like this realization that I have the body, so I have the power in this relationship. All these years with the monster, I felt like I was the helpless and being rejected, not good enough. But with this guy, I could feel how much he wanted to be with me and how I was pushing him away. So I asked him, what did he need from me to allow him to stay with me the way he wanted to? Which is a great first question to come with. What do you need from me to stay with me the way you want to, money honey? And what's fun is when you have this imaginary friend who feels so real, you are just zooming into your own intuition like your highest self, and the answers just flow in spontaneously. And he said that he needed me to love him and stop treating him like a monster. I feel like I need to pause and address the whole love is money is the root of all evil thing here. Love is not evil. Love is not greed. Love is not avarice. Love is not exploitation. Love is not win-lose. Love is not selfish. Love is generous. Love is our best, most noble self, love is actually selfless. It just feels good. It's flowing. It's loving the other person. It is win-win-win for everybody. And I have a friend who studied the ancient Aramaic original language of the Hebrew Bible, who says that, she says, well, Morgana, the original translation was that the worship of money will cause problems. To which I would say, hell yeah.
Yeah. And that's where people are getting it confused. It was written as the worship, but we've taken it more as the love or the obsession with.
And it's the worship of money in the context of slaves, as in, if you don't feed your slaves, they're going to die. And I would say, well, don't have slaves.
But yeah.
And
that's a good start.
Yeah. And be loving.
Yeah.
So, and in this game, the more loving you are, the more money you make and keep, because nothing is going to make your money honey happier than you loving yourself. Think of how much it breaks your heart when you love somebody and they're self-destructing. It's unbearable to be with.
Yeah.
So to really make your money happy, the kinder you are to yourself, and the more you devote your life to integrity and alignment with your values and pursuing what you truly care about, the happier your money will be. Your money honey then becomes your partner, especially, and I'm talking to my world savers out there because you are my people. Money should only exist to serve love, lifestyle, and legacy, all three. And that's what makes a human being happy. And if the pursuit of money is sacrificing your health, if the pursuit of money is sacrificing your relationships, if the pursuit of money is hurting the world, that is a perversion of the right purpose of money.
Yeah.
We have one step left.
I was gonna say, I think we're almost there.
Right. Okay. So the final step, which will be familiar to every life coach on planet Earth, is concrete, measurable action. Because your money honey, when you say, what do you need from me, money, so you can stay with me? Your money's going to say really vague Yoda-like stuff, like, I want you to love me, or I want you to love yourself, or I want you to relax, which tell that to any woman, right? And see what happens. So great. That's a good goal. But it's a lot easier to take concrete, measurable action, because even if you score an A on loving yourself today, tomorrow you're going to have feelings. So what is one concrete, measurable action you can take to demonstrate to yourself and your money honey that this relationship has changed? And it could be money related, and it could be totally different. I had a client years back, Janet, who lives in Canada. And her money honey kept telling her to go for a walk. And she was too busy trying to make money. She didn't have time. So for 2 weeks, she kept putting it off when her money honey kept telling her to take a walk. She finally took a walk after 2 weeks and ran, met somebody on her walk who became her first high-paying client. Trying to remember, because I go blank sometimes with these stories, but another client also in Canada from way back, her money honey wanted her to go skating in December, really cold. And she kept putting that off and putting that off and putting that off, and nothing was changing. And she finally went skating with her son, had a great time, came home, got a phone call, and received $10,000 without asking for it. And so the reason I love these stories that are sort of outside what you would expect. I mean, sometimes people balance your checkbook, or make 3 calls to get a client, or stay home and do the laundry is another one that resulted in a $20,000 client. I just love stuff that comes out of left field, but feels right. And your money honey is beaming and nodding his head because it's coming from intuition. It's coming from some place that is beyond your usual thinking, and that's where flow happens. And it's now my law of attraction people are going to be really happy, because it's coming from a more energetic place than a heavy lifting place. And I don't know why those things happen. I just see them happen again and again and again. So those were the 6 steps.
So it's more about dealing with your inner wounds and then sort of moving forward, but also having those concrete actions.
Concrete, yes. Yeah. When we are protecting ourselves from anything, we are brilliant at like sending out tiny, tiny micro signals that we're completely unaware of to push what we want away. And we have no idea it's happening. And it's horrible. By the way, I went through the same damn thing with love. Like 10 years later, I slayed my love monster at 45 and a half and met my husband 2 months later. And after 45 years of a perfect record of romantic failure, by the way. And I'd known for months that my experience of love sounded just like what I was saying about money. Like I'm doing everything right. I'm working with the coaches. It doesn't make sense. No, I don't want to slay a love monster, but I did. And when I did, that was when what I was protecting myself from became visible. And my reason for not having love and having the partner that I wanted suddenly made all the sense in the world. But it was that digging process of like what isn't immediately obvious, and then making it a person kind of reveals to ourselves what's going on that we don't know about. I believe that change happens at the speed of safety, especially for women. Otherwise, it's like driving with the brakes on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we have to be ready for the change. We have to be in the right place for the change, because you can hear the same story 10 different times. And you finally listen to it on the 10th time and you think, well, why didn't I listen to it on the 3rd time? It would have been easier.
Because it wasn't time.
Yeah.
And there can be in our industry a lot of shame about, oh, you're not ready. And what I want to switch that is, there is a lot of treasure in those painful experiences. There's a lot of wisdom and a lot of treasure and a lot of value, or they wouldn't be there. And when you get it, and it's sort of like pregnancy, it's going to take until it's cooked.
Yeah.
And then you get it, and it's like, oh, well, and then the challenge has no more reason to exist. So it has a very strong tendency to go away. So there's no blame on whatever you're going through. That's kind of just part of your contribution to the great totality. You are just milking your wisdom and your gift. And we want you to get it. That's why I share this process, because I want to accelerate it and help you get it, so that you don't need this challenge and you get to like elevate to the next level of the game with a new challenge.
Yeah. And I like to think that we're not ready for, at a certain point, you're not ready for a reason. And that's because there's still a certain amount of wisdom or experience that you need to gain that will then help you reach the next level.
There's a gift.
Yes.
I was hit by a car when I was 16, in a coma for a week, head injury, severe trauma, didn't sleep for a couple of years, suicidal daily. The brain that used to be straight A couldn't read through a single page. It was a really long road to recovery, but it couldn't be sped up. But I got gifts. Apparently, I needed them in this lifetime. So there can be some very well-intentioned shaming of people who are going through a hard time. And I think one of the greatest gifts of going through a hard time is that we can have more respect and empathy for others going through their experience, less judgment, more love. And sometimes maybe that's the gift of going through whatever you're going through.
And it's the importance of being able to look back and see those gifts in those challenging moments, because that's when you know that you've experienced growth, is when you can look back and see the gift. If you look back and still see yourself as a victim, then you haven't grown, and you're going to keep repeating that lesson until you learn it, in my experience.
Or you haven't, or there's still more growth.
Yeah.
I know people talk a lot about forgiveness, and when you're still resentful, you're just afraid. And when you're, and I don't think forgiveness is appropriate until it's safe. Like, certainly not when you're still in the situation being hurt. And I think what the real forgiveness is when you come to the point where you can trust yourself to not let that happen again. That's when forgiveness happens spontaneously and you're released.
Definitely. Now, Morgana, you have a lot of resources to help people on their journey with this. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
My website, morganarae.com, just look at my name and add a .com, is where everything is. So tons of free resources and all levels of, self-study programs and coaching with me. I would say start, since I've already kind of walked you through the process, I would encourage you to find the quiz on my homepage, or you can go directly to doesmoneyloveyou.com and test yourself. It's my money love quiz to see where you're strong and where you're challenged. And then I send you recommendations on what your best next step is based on your score, because, we're all on different parts of our journey. And I'm not going to try and say everybody should do the same thing. So I would say go to doesmoneyloveyou.com. Everybody's good in some areas, everybody needs growth in some areas, and this will just show you how it all ties together, and then make specific recommendations for what is best for you. That's my recommendation.
Perfect. Well, if you are looking at connecting with Morgana, make sure you check out the show notes. I'm going to have all of the links in there. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Can I just say I love you, and I really, really enjoyed this.
Thank you. It was such an honor to have this conversation with you today. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Roller Coaster Podcast. Want to chat or share your ideas about today's show? Pop me an email at hello@therollercoasterpodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at The Roller Coaster Podcast. Our theme song, Roller Coaster, was performed by The Lucky Setback. Audio editing by the one and only Jeff Quigley of Quigley Creative.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Roller coaster.